Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to TSKF1. My name's Rich, and this is your latest in Formula One news. Today, we're going to be talking about Fernando Alonso and his age, a little bit about Charles Leclerc and Ferrari, and also Mark Webber having his say on the Daniel Ricciardo gap year. I'm going to also make a video later today talking about the whole Andretti situation coming into Formula One and my take on it. We could cover it in the news show, but I feel like there's a lot to talk about and digest there and go over. That I kind of feel like if I were to do it here, I wouldn't give it enough time. I wouldn't cover everything I want to cover and get my point across properly. So keep your eye out for that. But first of all, we are going to talk about Fernando Alonso. He's been talking about his age and affecting his training and things like that because he is 41 years old going into this season, which really, for a modern Formula One driver, it's really quite old, right? Because the recent comparison I can think of is Michael Schumacher. Have there been any other have there been any other drivers of this similar vintage, shall we say, that have come back into Formula One or Kimi Raikkonen, I suppose. Raikkonen's up there, isn't he? So we saw Schumacher have somewhat of a decline in his age, but he had a true gap, didn't he? I don't think he was doing competitive driving like Fernando Alonso was with his gap. And Kimi Raikkonen, I mean, he's an impossible barometer. Like, how fast was he towards the end, and how consistent was he? Now, I would say that Fernando Alonso at this stage in his career is faster than Schumacher and Raikkonen showed. I think he's far more consistent and he's showing pace. What do you guys think? I know people love Kimi Raikkonen, and I'm like Schumacher's my god, but I think for his age and things like that, I think Fernando Alonso's doing a really, really good job. And also, it's worth noting that Lewis Hamilton, I think, recently turned 38, right? So are we getting to the point now? Like a few seasons ago, it was very much, I think he's on par with how Schumacher was at the same age. I don't agree with that at all. I think Alonso's beyond where Schumacher was at the same age, honestly. I think, off the top of my head. What age did Schumacher leave Ferrari? Like, what age did he leave Ferrari and what age did he come back? I'd need to know them before I judge that properly. But like a few years ago, it was sort of the in thing that drivers had to be young, and young drivers were the only thing that mattered. And people were pushing the older drivers to the side. And I'm not really someone who subscribes to that, because both ends of the spectrum bring something different to the table, don't they? Like, if someone's older, they've got vastly more experience. If they're younger, they're probably hungrier, you know. So with that comes its own benefits. Don't forget to smash a like on the video, guys. Don't forget to smash a like on the video. It really, really helps. But yeah, a few years ago, the narrative was all, why is Alonso still in Formula One? He should be making way for the younger guys, and so on. And I still don't agree with it. I think many times last season he showed he's got pace, right? So I still view him as one of the best drivers on the grid. But speaking to media, Alonso said, "I've had to change many things. The moment of my career now, the physical aspects, I have to change a few of my training routines, my traveling, events. Formula One is very demanding on energy off track as well. So I have to really be more efficient on more of the things that I do on the weekends or in the weeks. On the physical aspect, for sure, I have to do much more than what I'm used to because I'm not 20 anymore." And this article in particular then gives you a list of the oldest F1 drivers. And I think it's been somewhat clear, hasn't it, as well, to look at Fernando Alonso last season. You can see he doesn't look, how can I put this? He doesn't look fatigued, but you can tell he's put a shift in. Like, you know, he's sweating a lot. He's clearly lost fluids and things like that. Whereas the younger guys, not so much, which is to be expected. And that's part of the age thing, right? But you can tell he's really, really, really putting in a shift sometimes. But he's doing it with a smile on his face. So, and I don't think he'd have signed for Aston Martin if he didn't think he was capable. But just looking at the lists of the oldest F1 drivers, these are like really old drivers. Like they're just not modern on any level. With the oldest being 55 years, 9 months, and 19 days, Louis Chiron, and that's just not going to happen in the modern era, is it? It's just not going to happen. And what do you guys think? Do you think Alonso can still deliver, or I don't know? He doesn't even make the top 10, mate. I don't know. Fangio doesn't even make the top 10 list. What do you guys think, though? Do you think Alonso can deliver still? Do you think he can deliver at Aston Martin? Do you think the whole Aston Martin move is a good idea? Do you think he's cashing in on his name and having and financing his retirement, or do you think he really wants to go there and deliver? Do let me know in the comments, guys. Interactive. It's interactive. Get involved. There's 6 of you there. Get involved and chat to me. Chat to me. But we'll move on now to Danny Rick. Now, this is probably a saga which is over, but Mark Webber has been talking about Daniel Ricciardo a little bit, and both Aussies, and obviously Mark Webber is the manager of Oscar Piastri. I'm saying obviously. I'm 99.9% sure he is the manager of Oscar Piastri, who has just taken Daniel Ricciardo's seat at McLaren, though I'm positive there's no hard feelings in any way there. I think Danny Rick is quite a level-headed guy. I think he ticks both boxes for him. He'll want to go and do well, but at the same time, line his account. Probably, James. Probably, mate. We'll see, won't we? We'll see. With Alonso at Aston Martin, that is. But with Daniel Ricciardo conceding, he had some burnout with Formula One. Mark Webber's been speaking and said he needs to reflect on finding motivation and energy back for the sport, and I think it's a great opportunity for him to do that in an environment he knows well. This has been reported by GPfans.com. He'll be good for the brand. There's no question about that, Red Bull. He's insanely popular globally, so I think a year out will feel longer for him, which could be good because he might need that. Then he can start making decisions for how 24 could look for him. Reports of animosity between Webber and Ricciardo have been flatly denied by both camps. We've had a good chat in Singapore about some stuff. It's good that he's open to staying on the fringes to measure his motivation levels at his own discretion. And I think that's a mature approach from Webber, because he is involved, both Australian guys, and from what I can see, both sound guys as well. Webber's got something more in it because he's Piastri's manager. And I like how honest Daniel Ricciardo has been about the situation, suffering burnout, and that's what I said, Jamie. He's I think it was clear to see he was burnt out and a bit lost with what was going on with his driving and things like that. Now, I don't see a way he gets back onto the grid. I honestly don't see a way that he gets back onto the grid at all, Daniel Ricciardo. Because if this was 2024 and he was taking 2025 out, you could argue that there might be a position in 2026 when the regulations change. But by the time 2026 comes around, I'd argue that that's too long away for Daniel Ricciardo. It'd be like 36 at that point. And what would you be taking a 36-year-old Daniel Ricciardo for, who's not been driving competitively in F1 for 3 years? But then again, Nico Hulkenberg's just got a drive, so who knows? Anyone can get a drive. Max retires, maybe, mate. I think Daniel Ricciardo will be collecting his pension by the time Max retires. But yeah, I don't know where he fits in on the grid, because unless the only thing I can see happening is Daniel Ricciardo taking Sergio Perez's place and being a known second driver. Like, that is what it is from the outset, and Daniel Ricciardo knows it, and Red Bull know it, and it's contractual and everything like that. I don't see where he goes. Now, I suppose you could talk Audi, you could talk Andretti, but that's its own thing. Could one of those teams be looking at getting a Daniel Ricciardo? Now, I don't think it's a bad shout. Like, when is it? 2026. It's so far away, though. I think Andretti, the aim is for them to get it earlier, isn't it? Whereas I think Audi, it's 26. Andretti, unfortunately, won't get Herta because he hasn't got the super license. But they could want Max Verstappen, but they're not going to get him. Andretti wants a lot of things, but they're not bringing much to the table, are they? Aston Martin, him and Alonso. Well, it's not going to happen, is it? I think that fails immediately, James, with you saying him and Alonso, because you've got Stroll sat there. Stroll's not leaving, is he? He's just not. And then that's not a dig. I just don't see Lance Stroll leaving Aston Martin. But where would we plonk him in? See, I honestly thought they could repair any previous damage and he was going to go back to Alpine. I honestly thought that. But that was obviously they couldn't reconcile whatever differences they had and things like that. And Gasly went there, which is probably a better option anyway at this point. Gasly's got to deliver this year. But it's just an interesting one with Daniel Ricciardo. I feel like you could see him gently float away into the history of F1 after this next season. If it doesn't come back for him, I think you could see him just, oh, Daniel Ricciardo, he's still a thing. You know what I mean? People forget really quickly within Formula One. People really, really forget very, very quickly. Do you think question for you guys, actually, what do you think? And I want to know in chat, because there's only a couple of people chatting. Yes or no, do you think we will see Daniel Ricciardo on the grid again in a full-time drive? In a full-time drive, do you think we will see Daniel Ricciardo on the grid again? I'm going to say no. We might see a sub appearance. You never know. You just never know. Max no, he's not even the reserve driver, so he's not getting a drive at Red Bull. People keep saying that, but it's a PR thing. He's not the reserve driver, or he's not the first reserve. I think we might. Mr. Fence sitter over there with Jamie. I don't think I won't sit on a fence. No, I don't think we'll see him in a full-time drive. I don't see where he goes back onto the grid. I just don't see it. Thanks for the answers there in chat, guys. I really, really appreciate it. Now, I don't think so, but strange things have happened. Again, like Nico Hulkenberg, right? Nico Hulkenberg getting the seat this year still baffles me. It still baffles me. He won't do free practice because he's not the reserve driver, dude. He's not that role. But right then, so this might be shorter than half an hour. I don't know. See how long we talk about the next bit. But Charles Leclerc has been talking about, and this is on the thumbnail as well. I think it all depends on his mentality, but don't see where he would go unless Red Bull replace Perez at the end of the contract. Yeah, exactly. I don't see where he goes. Charles Leclerc has been talking about Ferrari and what they need to do, and obviously it's the thumbnail and it's the title story that Ferrari needs to do better. I'm really sorry, my ear is relentlessly itching, and I don't know why. It's annoying me. Now, I'm just going to read the quotes directly here. I mean, I don't think it's anything anyone disagrees with. This is the checkeredflag.co.uk. Charles says, honestly, there are three key elements, Leclerc's quoted as saying, to Planet F1. Reliability has been a problem at one point in the season, which we paid the price for later on with penalties and other things. Strategy, I think we've done too many mistakes at one point of the season, and time management. We haven't been consistent enough at our 100%. And we also sometimes have very bad races, and we don't seem to have the understanding yet of how to have good time management all the time. So these are three key aspects in which we are focusing on at the moment. And honestly, I can't remember whose analysis it was that I was reading, but it was someone with history in F1, and they were talking about how not much appeared to happen to the Red Bull. But at one, I think it was Pirelli. It was a guy from Pirelli quoted as saying that the Red Bull had, at some point in the season, they had changed something quite dramatically with their approach, because they went from smashing through tires like everyone to not, basically, and being the gentlest on tires. And you may remember Mexico, where the Mercedes had to pit. I think everyone had to pit, and then Max basically did a double stint on tires. And it was in the aftermath of that Pirelli said they couldn't, the car could not have done that earlier in the season. Red Bull have done amazing work on that car to make sure it's very gentle on the tires. And this is a fundamental thing within F1. And quick cars always have this trait. If there's one thing, well, not one thing, but if there's something that sticks out during Lewis's dominance, if you like, you can say that the Mercedes was very kind on tyres. The amount of times Lewis seemed to go crazily long on tyres and hold pace when others didn't. That Red Bull has that trait now, and did for probably the second half to final third of last season, where it just seemed to waft gently along on a breeze on those tyres, whereas the Ferrari chewed them up. Now, I won't pretend I know enough about it, but I guess it's to do with, it's to do with the geometry of the suspension and the loading that you're putting through the tyres, and I guess how much sort of lateral movement you've got on the tyres through the corners and the downforce and how it's produced. But they did something, Red Bull did last season, and it's been identified by Charles there that they don't have good time management at Ferrari all the time. Some races they got it right, some races they didn't. And I suppose that's maybe having a great car and having a larger operating window, because one of the things for Mercedes last season was that it was a very fine margins. Both George and Lewis said it, didn't they? The Mercedes had just this tiny operating window, and when they got it out of it, it was horrible. And I think the margin for error was, well, I think the operating window for the Ferrari was larger, but I think that Red Bull was an incredible vehicle, honestly. That's about the time that I think it's unrelated, but it is about the time to be. I think, yeah, it is about the time, but I don't think it's related. Good morning, DJM. How you doing? But it's interesting. I felt like strategy has definitely been a step forward in the last few races. I'd agree. Difficult to show because we don't have the pace that we had during the beginning of the year. But the way we communicate, the way we take decisions is better. Of course, there are a few mistakes, but I think we took better decisions come race day. Tyre strategy and obviously reliability that we cannot forget. These are two things that we'll be focusing on. And it seems to me like Red Bull really did an exceptional job of identifying why their car was as harsh as everyone else on the tyres. they identified it and they rectified it, and they got race wins because of it. Because in my memory, in Mexico, strategy-wise, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and you can see it. It looked like, in my memory, Lewis was going to be somewhere near, and he ended up nowhere near because of how well the Red Bull did on its tyres. And that in itself is a race-winning thing. So being gentle on the tyres is a massive thing. Please do make sure you're smashing the like on the stream, guys. It helps absolutely loads. We've only got 2, but we've got 12 people watching. I appreciate you hanging out. And please do make sure you subscribed to the channel for daily news. I'm going to try and make a video later on today about the whole Andretti situation, but I feel like I'm going to trigger, well, if I trigger people, I trigger people, because my opinion seems to be different to that of a lot of people on the internet for some reason. I don't know why. But anyway, do we think Ferrari are going to be challengers? Now, one thing as well from last season, I find it baffling that people thought it was a title fight. Honestly, I don't know whether it's because the Mercedes weren't involved, so it gave people the sort of feeling that somehow Ferrari were quicker. I think Ferrari were only quicker for a couple of races, if that, and that was only, well, in qualifying they could do it, but over a race distance they were nowhere near. They were nowhere near over a race distance for most of the season. They need to get their internal politics sorted out before we can consider them challengers. Yeah. And by all accounts, Vasseur has a great relationship with Leclerc, and the Binotto-Leclerc relationship broke down, and that probably had its own effect. But, I mean, it's Ferrari and internal politics. Can that ever be fixed? I mean, we've had an era of when it has been fixed, but could it be fixed? I don't know. Come on, guys, smash the like button. How come one person? Come on, guys, smash the like button. I don't know if Ferrari can fix their internal politics, really, with the way they are, just sacking people all the time and stuff. Yay, there we go. Cheers, guys. Can they sort that out, do you think, Nick? What do you think on that? It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I'm in the camp of, I think they should have given Binotto more time, but then again, we don't know what's going on internally. Did the relationships internally break down that much? Because honestly, on paper, I don't think it went badly under Binotto. I truly and honestly believe that, because if you look at their performances, if you look at their place in the Constructors' Championship, it's an upward trajectory. And this season, as Leclerc has said, you can look at some strategy, you can look at tyre management, you can look at a few things and go, right, we need to work on that. And that's constructive feedback, that's learning, that's moving forward. And if it was just because Ferrari upper management felt like there needed to be a change, I'm still not sure I agree with it. Now, Vasseur could do a brilliant job and win the Constructors this season, but I'm still like, Ferrari have strategists. Ferrari have different people. Not all of it. While you I guess the buck stops with the main guy, changing Binotto doesn't change the strategists, sort of thing, unless you sack them as well, And it's like being a football team. If you're getting rubbish players in that are being scouted, but you change the manager, and you don't change the scouts, you're still going to get rubbish players in, And it just, I wouldn't know if they've changed any of their strategic sort of setup or anything like that. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if this is a good move or not for Ferrari. To me, it just seems another stage of upheaval and instability, when I honestly think that Ferrari needs stability above everything else right now. To me, they need their sort of technical chief. They need the upper management within the team to be consistent for 3 to 5 years. whether that's Binotto or Vasseur. You need your drivers to be consistent. You need your technical chiefs to be consistent, your strategists to be consistent, and then form a unit and really sort of learn from that. Like, I don't think it's any coincidence. You can look at Ferrari's dominance, and you can see it was Ross Brawn, Michael Schumacher, Eddie Irvine Barrichello, but then you had, was it like Rory Byrne and people like that as well working there. Then you look at Mercedes, you've got Toto Wolff, you've got Lewis as the number one, but then you've got technical chiefs, which were generally the same, whether that was over at high performance powertrains and things like this. And Ferrari, for me, just keep sacking people when really there shouldn't be. I don't know. It's the thing I feel quite strongly about. I think they are their own worst enemy sometimes, Ferrari. But what do you guys think? They need some German structure. Now, look, I admire the passion of Ferrari and the Tifosi and things like that. I very much do. But I very much vibe with the sort of, the perception and whatnot of German structure. I really like how, I've said this a lot, I like how reactive and quick Red Bull are to make decisions, but I also like the structure that you seem to get at Mercedes. You need sort of a middle ground, don't you? Which is kind of what you're saying there. But we'll see, won't we? We'll see next season if we can get Ferrari to be up there. What I really want as a Formula One fan, and I've got my F1 hoodie on, what I really want to see as an F1 fan is Red Bull strong, Ferrari strong, and Mercedes strong. I want to see Leclerc, Max, Lewis, and the second drivers going at it, and we don't know what's going to happen. That's what I want to see. I really want to go into the season and be like, oh, what's going on here? Like what is going to happen at the next race? That'd be brilliant. And I hope that happens for Formula One and for the fans. So there we go. I'm going to try and make a video later on, guys, on the whole Andretti situation. We'll see. And I'll be posting that up. Please do smash a like on the video and make sure that you're subscribed. I'm going to be going live over on Twitch shortly at twitch.tv/pitlanes, playing some games. So please do come along and join me. I'll be back later on, or first thing in the morning, 9 a.m. with the latest F1 news. So please do come back then. Till then, though, guys, have a great day, and I will see you later. Cheers. Bye-bye.